My name is Nate Haight, and I'm an education program specialist on USAID's Reading and Literacy team. Today I'm going to share with you a useful new framework called the USAID Reading Matters Conceptual Framework. Under the 2011 USAID Education Strategy, we used two frameworks to guide reading programming. First, the All Children Reading Goal 1 Results Framework that focused on improving reading outcomes at 3 levels: classroom instruction, delivery systems, and community family engagement. The second, the 5 T's framework, which focuses on improving teaching, time, text, tongue, and testing to improve reading outcomes. The frameworks have contributed to significant gains in reading programs across many contexts. For example, in Senegal, the number of grade 2 students meeting the minimum comprehension benchmark increased from 2% to 34% from 2017 to 2019. Even though the frameworks we had been using, such as the 5 T's, created huge progress, we learned that we needed a tool that was more able to adjust for context and sustain results. In particular, we needed a way to reach the students that continue to struggle the most. So, building upon the successes of previous frameworks and learning from the evidence, our team developed the USAID Reading Matters framework. The Reading Matters framework presents the components of the ideal system that evidence shows are critical to supporting reading acquisition for all children. MATTERS is an acronym that stands for the critical components identified by the evidence to get all children reading: mentors, administrators, teachers, texts, extra practice, regular assessment, and standards. By all children, we emphasize the most marginalized and vulnerable children, including those that struggle the most to learn to read. For the system to support all learners, all components of the framework must incorporate principles of universal design for learning, and research must focus on differences in outcomes between groups. The children that struggle the most to read often have other needs outside of the education system. You'll see child well-being represented on the right side of the framework. The system for all children reading will not work if children are not healthy, nourished, safe, prepared to learn, and able to concentrate. Some USAID education programs will be able to address these child well-being needs directly. At times, however, USAID will need to partner with other sectors to ensure children have the prerequisites to learn when placed in high-quality classrooms. Next, I'll highlight key components on the left side of the framework. To start, let's look at evidence-based standards, norms, and policies. You'll notice that there are policies and standards for all of the 5 T's reflected here. Language of instruction, for example, reflects the T for tongue, and sufficient time reflects the T for time. In the ideal system, evidence-based standards and policies are in place, providing a blueprint for the other components in the framework. It's important to understand how these are being implemented throughout the system. Our next component is texts. The idea here is that systems have a strong book supply chain that makes books more available, affordable, accessible, appropriate, and actively used. For effective teachers in classroom instruction, the system must have clear linkages between pre- and in-service training, and teachers are implementing what they learn in their classrooms. The effective coaches and mentors component was not explicit in our previous frameworks. This is an area that was a struggle in earlier generations of USAID reading programs, but we have emerging evidence that ongoing support is critical for teachers to effectively implement what they learn in training programs. Quality administrative support and supervision is another component that was not explicit in previous frameworks. Good school management is key for improving teacher and student attendance, as well as learning outcomes. Regular assessments refers to not only national or end-of-year summative assessments, but also the formative day-to-day teacher assessment of all learners that informs instruction. This is essential to reach all learners. In this new framework, we are moving away from broad, vague, family and community engagement and specifying that the evidence shows extra reading practice and support outside of school is what makes a difference in reading outcomes. This new framework also recognizes key contextual factors in the system. It notes host country capacity and commitment, which means that we must understand the political economy, or political will and commitment, and capacity to sustain the system before designing an activity around these components. Also, for a system to be truly self-reliant, it needs mechanisms for collecting and using data to continually improve on existing activities and identify when there's a need for change or adaptation. Now, bringing all these pieces back together, we can use the Reading Matters framework for a number of purposes. To examine strengths and weaknesses in a delivery system against the ideal case, assess needs and tailor support to a broad range of populations and contexts, find USAID's niche in complex systems, train people on what the vision is for successful reading reform, and write solicitations and adapt ongoing programs. USAID Reading Matters Conceptual Framework is on Education Links. For more information, feel free to reach out.